Wait a second. Why all this drama? What if ripping up my art was actually a good thing? Hi everyone, I'm Backrolls, and welcome to the Nintendo Nerds, a weekly series where we talk about art, design, and all things Nintendo. So stick around, because in today's video, we're going to be discussing why I believe sometimes the best thing to do to move forward in your art is to destroy it. So, I certainly didn't set out to make a video about destroying your work. Painting as a hobby is a big part of my life, and nowadays we are trying to make good on the art part of our tagline. This was part of a really cool series we have planned with some of my talented artist friends that will take you through some different artistic mediums and why we think you might like them. That's going to be an amazing series, so please think about subscribing if you haven't already. We will have lots of art tips and fun project ideas in the months to come, all with some nerdy Nintendo angle. So, this was supposed to be a video about how much I love tube paints, but I made a couple of mistakes before I began that really didn't set myself up for success. If I can offer some advice to make sure you don't get to a paper-ripping state in watercolor, I'd suggest these 3 critical tips. Number 1, test your supplies. Now, these were some new fancy brushes I got for Christmas, and I had painted with them before. Thanks, Mom, by the way, loved the gift, but a natural hairbrush is still really new to me. To use my natural brushes on a brand new piece was a little bit risky. Tip number 2 is to test your techniques. Now, I took a great Skillshare class on painting fur in watercolor, and I was so excited I jumped right into my piece. Again, this is a mistake. You should always be testing first. And number 3, I think, is one of the most important rules in all of watercolor. You have to remember to be patient, and you have to know when to stop. Now, there were so many times I could have just let this painting be, but I got in my head about messing with the color and making it the perfect shade of Eevee. Then, I dropped a hair from one of my new brushes right into the middle of Eevee's face, and lifted up all of my good work trying to get it out. I tried to justify and adapt, thinking maybe if I even out this wash, things will turn out okay. Viewer, things did not turn out okay. Soon, I had turned Eevee's face into a muddy, sludgy mess. I had spent so much time obsessing and poring over this one spot in the painting to the point where I didn't even care about the rules of watercolor anymore. And when I realized that was happening, that's when I knew the right answer was rip it up. You know, I was really defeated that night. I went to bed with no sketch, no painting, nothing, and that can be pretty hard sometimes. But I'm here to tell you, viewer, that ripping up that page was great for me. If you and I have anything in common, then maybe you know this feeling of throwing yourself against a problem like it's a brick wall. I get really fixated on a problem, and when I fail, I take it as a total reflection of my talent and value, especially when it's something I usually love, like art, cooking, or video games. But that's why I thought I should share my paint failure, why I think we should all share failures more often. In this era of content, there just doesn't seem to be a whole lot of space for people that still want to learn and grow. We're expected to make these perfect time-lapse videos where everything looks buttery smooth. But I'm here to share a little secret, my fellow nerds. Art is messy as hell, and a lot of the time, you're going to make mistakes. But sometimes you need to accept that you are making mistakes and embrace it as part of your learning process. Sometimes, in order to move on, you should have a little fun in the fail, so go ahead, rip up your painting. Now, I try to leave every painting with something that I'm proud of and something I want to work on for next time. And in that first painting, I had so many things to work on when I made a second try. If any hairs fell out of my brush, I let them stay put until it had completely dried. I applied glazes in one stroke, and then tried my best not to disturb any paint underneath. And when I redrew Eevee, I ended up having better ideas for a more dynamic composition, and I changed it from a snoozy snapshot into an active moment. But viewer, I'm truly proud of the fact that I ripped that first painting up now. That's really my key takeaway here. Sometimes you just need to acknowledge when a failure is a failure, have a good night's sleep, and try again another day. It's a funny parallel, but I'm reminded of my experience with the Capra Demon in Dark Souls. A nasty beast with his 2 evil puppies. It was a problem I was sure I could tackle, and so one evening I found myself throwing myself at this extremely difficult boss over and over, and each time I convinced myself this was the run where all of this grinding would be worth it. I went to bed that night extremely late, battered, bruised, and grumpier than a Nintendo fan without any directs on the horizon. But a few days later, I sailed through the challenge after only single-digit attempts. Our brains are complex, fleshy computers, and we all learn things differently, and sometimes your brain just needs a break. What I want to encourage you to do is to be more forgiving of yourself and allow your failures to not be seen as setbacks, but steps forward on your learning experience. What I'm saying is, fail bigger. Fail in new and innovative ways. Fail scientifically. Fail artistically. And when you've done that, don't punish yourself like I did. Learn from it instead. If you do that and make your way back to creating when you're feeling fresher and more inspired, I promise you'll feel so much better about being a human being that sometimes makes mistakes. In fact, sometimes you might end up glad you made that choice, even if it was the wrong one, because you come out of that experience a wiser person. We hope you leave this video feeling inspired to make and share a few mistakes of your own. Art is always better with friends, so let us know what you've been working on these days. Write a comment below, or if it's a really nerdy project, tell us about it on Twitter or Instagram. We just might have to invite you onto the show to talk about it. For more conversations about art, design, and video games, please make sure to click subscribe. As always, we hope you leave this video ready to pick up a Pro Controller, a paintbrush, or a pen. I'm Backrolls, and this has been the Nintendo Nerds.